The issue that I have with the schedule is, and this is no fault of Iowa State in particular, because they have to play Iowa, and they only play 3 non-conference games because they play the 9, unlike the SEC and the ACC.
Play an extra conference game.
The 8. So it's only 3 non-conference games. Therefore, I always consider Iowa and Iowa State to play the most boring schedules in the country because I know what they're going to be. I don't need to look at the schedule every year.
It's the Big 12, the other one, and like a few G5 schools. Yeah. Yep.
So this year it's Northern Iowa to open up at home, and then it's 2 weeks later actually going on the road to play at UNLV, and then it's Iowa sandwiched in there.
I'm really excited for that UNLV game.
So you're going to have to point out to in regards to the schedule what makes this interesting.
The UNLV game or the schedule in general?
Well, the schedule in general, because to my point, they always play Iowa. So we already know that. Sure. They're going to play a couple G5s or an FCS. And then the Big 12, you don't even have to look at the Big 12 schedule, unlike the other 4 conferences, because everybody plays, which I think is the truest way to determine a champion.
I do as well.
In fact. Yep. But we don't have to figure out, okay, who are they going to miss in the Big 12 this year? They're playing everyone.
Right. Yeah. So what makes the schedule interesting is a couple different things. So the opponents to the average person may not be super interesting. First, you play UNI, Northern Iowa, which this is more of like, if you followed college football and you really follow college football, you know UNI is not a program to be trifled with. They are very, very good. Like, they are darn near on North Dakota State's level as far as how dangerous they are. If UNI joined a Power 5 conference, they would not finish last. In fact, you could argue that they wouldn't have finished last now, and then they would get a recruiting bump, and that would help even more. So it's not a game that's going to give them a lot of prestige. It's a game that they have to win. It's an FCS school. You got to beat FCS schools no matter what. But what it is a good test for Iowa State, period. Because typically speaking, Iowa State has started seasons slow. Whether it's with a close game against someone they probably shouldn't, like a UNI, or a bad loss like at Louisiana, they have tended to start slow. Now Iowa State should beat UNI every time they play them, and they will. But UNI is a very, very fundamentally sound football team. It's a team that you have to be prepared for, and you have to execute well, because otherwise they will out execute you. They are rock solid on every single fundamental part you could ask for, which is what makes them dangerous, because they don't beat themselves. That's why it's a great test for Iowa State. It's not going to move any needles nationally, and that's fine. But if Iowa State wants to be as good a team as they could possibly be, UNI is an extremely valuable game. I hate playing them because they're very good, but if you're looking at trying to maximize this team, UNI is a great first game to open up with. Iowa is, Iowa's Iowa. People kind of respect them, but they also kind of don't. I don't know. It's kind of a weird deal. It's still the Cyhawk. It's a rival. It's our rivalry game. Rivalry games. You're going to play them. It's usually at least a solid way. It's usually at least a pretty good game. There's a good chance this year it's a top 15 matchup.
Who's not respecting Iowa?
Colin Coward. No.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But no, but
yeah, they're not Ohio State.
Yeah, they're not. Like, people are considered like Iowa is a good program. They're fine or whatever. They don't you're not going to nobody's going to lose their minds over Iowa State beating Iowa, but no. But they're a respectable win, but not one that's going to move the needle for any college football playoff discussion or anything like that. It's not one you're going to look to and be like, oh, look we beat Iowa, unless they turn out to be a top 10 team. I don't think they will, but it's a good enough win that Iowa State would like to win, because Matt Campbell hasn't beaten Iowa yet. So you want to.
It's one of the top 15 to 25 programs in the country. It's in that range.
That's probably fair. But it's kind of odd though, because it's not. I don't. Maybe I'm misreading it too, just from a national perception though. Is that while they are probably one of the top 25 just overall programs in college football, generally speaking, it's not a really a sexy brand name where it doesn't move the needle. Not
at all.
Right.
And especially since you play them every year, it doesn't move the needle, because people are used to you playing them. And even when you guys are winning 3 and 4 games and they're winning 8 and 9 games, it's not unusual to see you challenge them or win maybe 4 in a decade.
Oh, well, for a long time, there was a stretch there where Iowa State was still the 3 and 4 team, and I was generally pretty good, but Iowa State won 8 of 11. I mean, there was a nice stretch there in the 2000s where they won a bunch of them. Iowa's season back in 2003 when they went to the Orange Bowl and they played Carson Palmer. You know who their one loss was to? 3-9 Iowa State. It's just stuff like that. It's always a game. It's always close. Doesn't matter who's good and who's not. It's a close game. It's always a big pie. Just a big mess of a football game, but it's a fun one. After that, it's UNLV. It's just a G5. UNLV is one of the worst programs in the FBS. They're really, really bad. I'm personally looking forward to it because UNLV plays at the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. So we're going to go out and have a good time in Las Vegas, watch a game in the new Raiders Stadium, and probably watch Iowa State win a football game pretty handily. Pretty good road trip. Then after that, you're going right into conference play, basically. And the interesting part about it is that, it kind of ramps up. So like I said, Iowa State has typically started kind of slow and then ramped up, especially through August and stuff like that. Through October and into November. But they've got a nice little stretch here where they don't have to play perfect and they can still come away with wins. So let's say you get through the non-conference schedule, Iowa at home at UNLV. So you have UNI and Iowa both at home. Then you go to UNLV. Say you go 3-0 there. Now you've got Baylor at Baylor. I don't know how good Baylor's going to be. I don't think anybody knows how good they're going to be. They were okay last year, and I think they'll probably be okay again this year. I think that's a game Iowa State will be expected to win. Then you have Kansas at home. Fart noise. Then you've got, then you're going down to Manhattan to play Kansas State. Kansas State's always kind of a dangerous team. We don't really play in Manhattan super well, but it's a game that Iowa State will definitely be favored in. So that's a game that I think they should probably win that game. So you're right there. You're looking at 5-0, and you've got Oklahoma State home then. And Oklahoma State and Iowa State has been a really, really good series the last 5 or 6 years. It's been a really good one. Oklahoma State's won, but like one of them, I think, but they've all been really, really close games. Really entertaining games for the last decade, actually, as they've all, generally speaking, all been very close and very, very entertaining. That's Iowa State's homecoming game. They'll be favored in that one, but still should be a good game. And then you're at West Virginia. I think West Virginia might potentially take a little bit of a step back. We'll see. Or be basically where they were. It's a game Iowa State, again, will be favored in, will be expected to win. So right there, you're at 7-0 pretty quickly. And then you've got, to finish the season, you're Texas at home, at Texas Tech, at Oklahoma, then you got TCU at home. Texas has won. Who knows what they're going to look like? They'll probably be decent anyways. They're Texas. They've got the recruiting to be decent anytime they want. I think that Sarkisian will probably do a pretty good job, but we'll see what they look like with their new quarterback. But it's a game, it's at home. Iowa State will be a favorite in that one. At Texas Tech, I don't think Texas Tech is going to be very good. So they should win that one. And then you got this big showdown where you could have 2 10-0 teams, potentially both in the top 5 at Oklahoma on November 20th in Norman. That could be huge, massive, massive game as far as playoff implications go. So you're there, and then you've got TCU at home. TCU could be really good. They could be okay. That'll probably be a really good game, and that could potentially determine the other participant in the Big 12 title game. But you have a nice ramp up there through the Big 12 schedule where you can start off with a little bit easier teams and you can build up so that that way, by the time you're playing your best football in October and November, you're playing that against Texas, West Virginia, Oklahoma, TCU. You're playing these against the top half of the Big 12, as opposed to, trying to just hang on for dear life earlier in the season and just try to win games sloppy. Now you can build your way up.
Why can't the Big 12 figure out who Iowa State should play the last game of the season?
I have no idea.
And is it logical to think that they can? Obviously, Oklahoma State, that's a rivalry.
Sure.
Typically all the conferences pair off the teams that should be playing the final game of the season. And for Iowa State, they're kind of lost. Well, they're not as lost as West Virginia is, just kind of hanging out close to the East Coast by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a difficult matchup situation. But I've noticed that I thought that they were starting to pair Iowa State and West Virginia as final weekend of the season opponents.
They have been kind of doing that recently. Yeah, because Iowa State is technically the geographically closest game to West Virginia. So for whatever reason, they've been putting the
1,000 miles away.
Yeah, still 1,000 miles away. But, they've been putting the Riot Bowl there, right around Thanksgiving, the week before, week after, somewhere in there. But yeah, now they put it up there in October. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, but TCU we've generally played earlier in the season, so that's kind of an interesting one. But I'm happy to play. I'm happy with this schedule. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it because I think part of the draw with that TCU game is that it really could be that if Iowa State goes down to Oklahoma and loses, and so Oklahoma's still undefeated, they're 11-0. Iowa State's 10-1. And TCU is still up there, maybe in third place at 9-2 or something like that. That legitimately could serve as a decider for who makes it into the Big 12 title game. It could be a really, really huge game, or it could mean nothing if Iowa State wins at Oklahoma. I don't know, but it could be. It should be a really good game, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, I like the structure of this schedule where you get a nice slow build up into your hard. You could say it's backloaded, but to me that favors Iowa State, that typically starts slow and gets and is playing its best football in mid October through November. I think it sets up perfectly for them, and it gives them an opportunity where Iowa State, if everything goes as we think it will, or as we think it could or should, Iowa State could legitimately be 10-0 going into that Oklahoma game, and they'll probably be favored in all but the Oklahoma game this season. And that's a pretty incredible thing to say. And if Iowa State wins every game they're going to be favored in, that's 11-1. And it's the best season in Iowa State football history by a long shot.
Love the breakdown. For everyone joining us live, this was not supposed to be a live stream with you, so we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
I was just going to be recording here with Levi, so I'm going to be editing this and reposting it. So go back, and even though you listened to most of this, just watch it again. Just give us another view, because this is going to get pulled down to a certain extent in the way it's displayed right now. So Levi Stevenson, wide ratty lad. See, this is what happens.
You said you had a second take on that one. Yeah,
Levi Stevenson from Wide Right Natty Light on the SB Nation platform for Iowa State Athletics. And Levi, we appreciate you stopping by. We'd love to have you back once we get some news out of spring training, and or any other big recruiting news and everything else.
Oh yeah, well, I'll be ready to go. If you want to do another Cyhawk preview, I'm definitely down for doing that.